It was love at first sight. Soon as I saw your face, knew that I'd rather die. Let you feel any pain. We would drive through the night till you fall asleep. See you there next to me, and I can't quite believe that sometimes the stars stay alive. I will stand by you. Just know that my heart is always your home. I'll be there for you. Just know, as long as the water will flow, I'll follow the river with you. You and I, up all night, how the reasons change. Another laugh, another cry, and I'm happy this way. 'Cause sometimes the stars stay alive. Oh, oh, oh. I will stand by you. Just know that my heart is always your home. I'll be there for you. Just know, as long as the water will flow, I'll follow the river with you. And I hope that someday you'll know why I followed the river. 'Cause I will stand by you. Just know that my heart is always your home. Oh, oh. I will stand by you. Just know that my heart is always your home. I'll be there for you. Just know, as long as the water will flow, I'll follow the river with you. I'll be there wherever it goes. I'll follow the river with you.
Soaking in your shark-infested waters, I should have tested it before I walked in farther. What can I say? You made me act so reckless, with your hand around my throat like a necklace. Ooh, oh, you took advantage, knew that I cared so much. And ooh, oh, wearing a bandage from your venomous touch. It seeps through my skin and flows through my veins. Your screams and your cries still creep through my brain. The leak in your lies blew up in my face. For weeks and 4 days within me you'll stay. You're standing in the way of my sun. I thought that I could fix everyone. A toxic mess, want nothing less than to overdose. Part of you left, committed theft. You're a hollow ghost, and your head goes. They're telling me to let I hear is your echoes. They're telling me to let go. You're dancing in the dark among the shadows. I got way too deep, almost got swallowed. What can I say? You made me feel so needed. I was fighting for your life, but got defeated. Ooh, oh, you left me in pieces, scattered out on the floor. Ooh, oh, you're my kryptonite, and I needed you more. I thought that I could be good enough for you, would never consider if I'm in your shoes. My love is priceless, not something you choose. You made a decision, so what can I do? You're standing in the way of my sun. I thought that I could fix everyone. A toxic mess, want nothing less than to overdose. Part of you left, committed theft. You're a hollow ghost, and your echoes, they're telling me to let go. All I hear is your echoes. They're telling me to let go. All I hear is your echoes. They're telling me to let go.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Ben from Universal Audio, and welcome back to another Office Hours. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and we're happy to be back here with you guys again, ready to answer some questions, show you some tips and tricks for using Luna. We've got some fun stuff on the plate today for you guys, and I see already lots of good questions coming in, so I'm not going to talk any longer. Let's get right into it with Matt and Drew. How you guys doing today?
What's going on, guys?
How's everybody doing?
Doing well, doing well. Well, man, so out of the gate, we already got some good questions kind of coming in here. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Maybe hit one of those, then address a few of these questions, and we'll kind of keep the show flowing here. So we're gonna, we've been kind of building on this template series. So 2 weeks ago we talked about a production template. Last week we talked about a mastering template, and Drew and I both showed a couple of examples of different mastering styles and templates and workflows inside of Luna. So today I've prepped some mixing template point of views. So I'll show you guys how to adapt a song into a template for creating an album, as well as just the default template that I like to load up that has all my routing and all my effects sitting there ready for me, ready to accept stems. And then Drew's gonna show you guys some tricks about using analog summing inside of Luna and how to most importantly, how to double check to make sure everything is all perfectly aligned. He'll give you some tips around that. We've also Drew's got Drew's tip of the day. It's a special surprise. I'm not going to give it away yet because it's such it's such a good tip. And it's not a surprise to me this time. So but you can already judge by this smile how cool of a tip it is. And then if we still got time, we still really want to show you guys how to back up your sessions as well and how to automate the backup process. So if we have enough time, we'll get to that at the end. But to start, Matt, you've been busy. You've been a busy man. On top of doing all the office hours, helping us with all the artist support and getting everything up and running and keeping things running smooth. In all of your free time, you've also been producing these Luna Basic videos.
Yeah.
In the eighth installment, the eighth one, which is kind of the summation of the basics, right? Should be out either later today or tomorrow. So yeah, do you mind telling people I know for a while we've had them loaded up inside of the Luna home screen. But we've just added a bunch more, and they all live on YouTube and also in the app. But yeah, want to run people through some of the tips that are in these most recent ones?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, like you mentioned, you can find all these videos on the Create tab in Luna, but you also go to our YouTube page, and there's a playlist that has all of them. And the eighth one, the final one, is not in here yet, but like you mentioned, it'll be in here later today or tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, some of the new ones are instrument tracks. So if you saw the MIDI overview that we did on the office hours last week, it's covers some of that, but it's how to create instrument tracks, how to record MIDI, covers loop recording, MIDI merge versus MIDI replace, different types of MIDI recording, basically everything related to instrument tracks and recording MIDI.
Mm-hmm.
So that's this one right here, Luna Basics, how to create and use instrument tracks. And then the other one that came out after that was all about MIDI editing. So it's kind of the second half of that MIDI deep dive that we did last week.
Yep.
So yeah, it's all about editing MIDI notes, editing MIDI clips, arranging MIDI clips, and all that kind of thing. Covers things like quantize, all your basic editing functions. And then the last one that isn't here right now but is coming out is mixing and exporting. So that's probably one that a lot of people have been waiting on.
Yeah.
Covers all the mixing features, how to create buses, how to use two different bus configurations, how to use them as sends, how to use them as subgroups, how to use integrated tape,
Mm-hmm.
inserts, automation, basically everything you want to know about the mixing process. It's a pretty long one.
Yeah.
And then finally exporting, how to get your audio out of Luna once you've done all that.
Hell yeah. Well, and these are great too because they're all we work really hard on these, to script them and to edit them so that they're as compact and as just info packed as possible. So they become a great reference for anybody if you're ever stuck wondering how to do something inside of Luna. Almost everything, at least at the moment, all the basics and all of the kind of standard workflows, they're all covered in these videos, which is really great.
Yeah, and especially if you're coming from another recording application, you're just like, how do I figure out how to do this basic thing that I know how to do so well in my other DAW?
Mm-hmm.
These videos are a great resource for that. And then as time goes on, we'll be adding some more kind of intermediate and advanced topics to these videos as well. So
yeah,
keep an eye out for those.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen some people online talking about, well, how Luna's MIDI's not this, it's not that, or whatever. And then I point them to your MIDI deep dive, and then they come back afterwards and they're like, oh, okay, it's I get it now, right? It's like, so it's a lot of it's just familiarity, right? And
totally,
and committing a little bit of time to getting, and we've all had to do it. We all come from different DAW backgrounds, so it took me a little while to get used to Luna, but now I'm actually, like, when I have to go to other workstations, it feels the opposite in a lot of cases. So sometimes just, invest that time and look at these basics and then look at the deep dives. That's probably a good progression.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and then get your hands dirty. That's the number one best way. That's the reason why the three of us have learned this so fast is just by getting in there, getting our hands dirty, bringing our projects into it, and giving it not just a test drive, but really giving it a run for its money, and trying out all the different capabilities and figuring out how how to adapt some of the things that you're used to doing into new ways of doing it. I don't know about you guys, but it's personally it's been nice, a bit of a fresh air, nice. It's a chance to reapproach how I would just by default do things.
Yeah, and Luna is so intuitive too. I mean, even if you haven't watched all these videos, you just jump in without knowing anything. I mean, you can figure out a lot just from playing around and trying different things with one of your own projects. So
yeah, absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, Matt, dude, great job on all these Luna Basics. They've turned out really fantastic, and they are a great resource. So yeah, if you guys haven't already checked them out, They're in the create panel inside the app or over on our YouTube page. And if for some reason you aren't subscribed to the YouTube page, just go ahead and do that, because you may as well, if you want to get alerted about all of our live shows, about all of the content that we're coming out with. The number one place to find all of that in one place is to subscribe to Universal Audio's YouTube.
And even if you think you know it all, the basics already, don't be fooled by the basics moniker.
Right.
You can pick up little tips and little tricks and little different ways of doing things. So even if you think you already are up and running with Luna, I definitely encourage people to watch them, because it's you pick up little things, little tips.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we kind of structured the videos to cover everything, from someone that has never used a DAW application before to someone that's coming from another DAW application that's already pretty familiar. So yeah, there's a little something for everybody in there.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, cool, man. Matt, really, again, yeah, man, good job on those basics. And everyone who, if you haven't checked them out yet, definitely go do that, because it's a great resource. But another great resource, obviously, is these office hours, where you guys can ask questions and get them answered here in real time. So I'm gonna, before we jump into a mixing template, where I'll show you guys some tips around using that, let's tackle a few of these questions. A couple easy ones. I see. Is there a way to save a default plugin preset? Not yet, but that's where the feedback button comes in handy, because hit the feedback button, let us know that you want that feature, because I want it badly too. The more people that stack their votes for it, the quicker it comes. So yeah, hit us up and let us know that you also want a default plugin preset. For now, what I do is, I just save, I save myself a default essentially for a lot of my plugins. If I've got a favorite setting that I want it to start on, I press the preset button, hit save it as like Ben default, and then whenever I open up the plugin, I just quickly press the preset button, select my preset, and then kind of start working from there.
And all your user presets are, they're sorted to the top, so you'll always see your user created presets first. So
Exactly.
That's nice.
Yep.
Yeah. We had an early question in there asking about the ideal way to connect an aux to an X8. So an aux, the cool thing about aux, right, is it's got analog outputs, it also has digital outputs. So I don't know about you guys. I love using the digital output on it. So that way it frees up my analog IO to be able to plug in other things. But the one thing you really have to be aware of when you're using the aux digitally is it's a fixed sample rate out of the aux. So when you're coming into Luna or into console, what you guys want to do is you want to make sure, here I'll show my console session so you can see how I've got my aux set up. We are coming in on the X8, just like what you have. And right now it's labeled SPDIF. This is actually my aux right here. Or now it's my socks. See, right at the top of the channel, there's a little button called SR Convert. Just make sure you always have that switched on. So this means that even though the aux is a fixed sample rate coming out of it, you can have sessions at any sample rate, and the sample rate conversion is handled, and you don't get any weird digital artifacts happening. So this is the only important thing to remember when you're doing the digital in. Otherwise, if you want to use the line in, you can of course do that. I guess if you're going into one of your Unison pre's, you can add extra flavor to it. There's I've seen some people want to do that, where they come out of the line level into a DI box, into a mic pre, so that they can drive it like they would a regular microphone.
And actually, little known fact, but Unison actually does work on the line input. There's just not the impedance matching, but the gain staging and the coloration still does exist. So even if you're TRS out and TRS in, you can actually use Unison plugins that way. It's not the same as a mic, but it has that same gain staging match.
Totally. See a few people kind of asking about offline mixdown issues. If you're having any bugs, it's always the most reliable I've found is switching over to real time, right? If you're having any sort of like lag issues or it wasn't in 107, I think it was like 105 or 106, I was getting some glitches. As soon as I switched to real time bounce, they kind of sorted themselves out. That's the workaround. But the most important thing is that you hit the feedback button and let us know that it's happening. Because what we're trying to discover is figuring out like what setups and what configurations and what plugins are possibly causing any sort of glitches or super slow offline bounces. PC.
Kevin,
No PC.
Kevin's
yet.
asking. Kevin's asking, how do you change the tempo of an imported WAV file? So if you bring an WAV file into your session, and then you control click on the trim tool, it'll time compress, expand it to the current grid.
Yep. Totally. And there's a I can't. Maybe I can show this when I pull in a tempo track, because there's a little trick that you can do by a clever kind of setting your tempo and changing between time and tempo settings for a track to be able to nudge it around in a faster way. Is there a way to get consumer optical audio to an X8? Seems like different formats doesn't work. Yep. So correct. So the X8 optical ports, those are ADAT ports.
Yeah.
Right. So Toslink, stuff coming off of a TV, those opticals, that's like a Toslink spec, which is more similar to SPDIF. As far as I know, the only way to really make those work together, to talk to each other, would be with a converter box.
Yep. Yeah, you can get converters for like $30 off Amazon. They work great, and they don't have any effect on your sound, because it's all ones and zeros. It's not actually convert anything to analog or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think they're actually what else they might be referring to is the idea of, like, if you're trying to get like Dolby Digital or AC3 out of things and into those are consumer compressed formats that are designed for entertainment, viewing entertainment, and they're not the Apollo's not going to be able to read AC3 or Dolby Digital coming out of something. So
Great. Yeah, there's a couple of questions here I think I'll be able to address as we talk about some of this template stuff, such as the how to turn Neve summing off as your default as you're creating tracks. I can show you guys that. I'll show you how to change some tempo stuff around. Any other questions you guys are seeing that we should hit before we jump in?
What is it? Ahmed's asking about plugins that are only available on inserts or buses. Yeah, like if you're looking for, I think what the crux of that question is can I do a mono to stereo instantiation on a mono track? And the answer to that is no. But there's an easy workaround, which is to simply take your mono track and assign it to a stereo bus, and then you'll be able to assign that stereo plugin onto that stereo bus. So you can use buses as a way of converting, sort of doing a mono to stereo workflow. I think that's what Ahmed was asking about.
Yeah, and make sure your Luna's up to date as well, because in older versions, if the track was in ARM mode, you wouldn't see any AU plugins on that track. But if you went to a bus that wasn't in ARM, you would see the AU plugin. So yeah, if you're on an older version, that could explain it as well.
So yeah, modern. Which one would we prefer? I prefer the digital one. The sampler,
less conversion that way.
Yeah, it's less conversion. It's one less stage of it going from digital to analog, back to analog to digital. Like, it's just one less step in the process, and then, like I said, it also frees up your I/O for more analog fun. Killer. And then Josh, I keep on seeing your question about Superior Drummer being able to do multi-instrument outs, which we don't do yet, not in V1, but definitely seeing lots of feedback for that. So make sure you've been hitting the feedback button. But also, I think, Drew, when we pulled it up, Superior Drummer on one of your office hours, we kind of showed, like, yeah, you can't do the multi-out, but what you can do is you can duplicate the tracks and kind of, by eliminating the MIDI and kind of, consolidating it. So now you just have just a kick version, just a snare version. It doesn't seem to be inefficient in terms of memory usage, right? Because
no, it seemed fine. Yeah, and that's a good workflow for during the writing. If you wanted to do that, go straight from writing into mixing. And really, you could write all on the same MIDI track, and then internally within Superior Drummer, you could do the export within the plugin, and it will export multi-track files out that you can then drag and drop back in. So it's not as if you can't get that workflow. It's just a matter of doing it when you're finished writing. Once you're sure you're finished writing, then you can do it within the app, within the plugin, within Superior Drummer, and drag them back in. So you got a couple options. Yeah.
Ooh, Ahmed, no such thing as a dumb question, dude. Is there a way, key command to cut the track at the playhead? There sure is. B. So if you here, I'll start sharing my screen and use this as a good transition into showing you guys some template work. All right. So now you can see. The reason you guys probably noticed my webcam's a little laggy, that's because I pulled up a heavy mix. So any track that you have, if you want to split, all you do is you would put your selector, put your playhead, and of course you can move the playhead around with with the 1-2 keys on a number pad, and then hit the B key, and B will separate. But there's also, as of, was it 1.0.7 that we added in the trim commands?
Yeah, ANS and the Command T.
Yep. So this is another really great workflow that I love, is to place my playhead there and then hit the A key, and it trims it from the front. And of course, you can do the inverse of that and put your playhead at the end of a clip, hit the S key, and it trims it in, as you can see over here right by our faces. So yeah, that's a really quick, easy way to get in there for doing quick edits. And the other cool one that they dropped in 1.0.7 is Command T. So now whatever area you have selected, it'll trim just to that, which can be a very helpful command. As you saw there, it was chopping 2 regions. So what I would do is I would come split there, and then select where I want to keep. Command T. Bob's your uncle. All right, so that's great. You guys have got some amazing questions, really good questions so far, guys. But let me show you guys quickly a couple of ways to template some mix sessions. And this first example. This is really if you're working on an album, or you're working on multiple songs with an artist. So you want to retain some character from song to song. And this is, I'll show you guys the quick way of doing it, but if you want to see this put into practice, the first, or I guess it was episodes 2 through 6 or 7 of Tales from the Switch with Fab. He was mixing an entire album for this amazing artist, Nezreen. And he used this. He actually kind of pioneered this way of making templates and using templates to create a cohesive sound for the record, as well as speed up his workflow in creating that record. And there's really not too much to it. Basically, what you do is you mix a song, start creating buses, start creating reverb returns, delay returns, subgroups, create things as you would, as what feels good for that song. And then what we're going to do, you'll notice on this session, similarly to his, a lot of the heavy lifting is being done on the subgroups. So like the drums and drum punch, this is the core of the drum sound, along with the new summing. Same with the bass, the bass itself, the direct track, I didn't put any processing on, but on the bus, that's where I did a little bit of EQ, a little bit of summing. And these are the things I want to carry forward. Obviously, you can see now here on the keyboard tracks, I've added insert effects on those keyboards, but those are particular to this song and to this, those exact patches. On the bus, I've just got Neve summing and Oxford inflator, which is a little bit of a cheat code for getting some great sounding keyboards really fast. Similarly for the guitars, I've got some processing on the direct channels, but that's not what I'm trying to templatize. I don't, each song, the guitar is going to be recorded different, the tone's going to be different, the patches, none of that's going to stay the same. What is going to stay though is I'm going to have a guitar group in the next song. So as you can see, I've already duplicated my session. Number 1 tip, don't do this to your final mix of the first song, because we're about to blast some stuff away. Make sure you duplicate that session in Finder first. So you come over to your Finder window and get in there and duplicate your session, title it, make it really obvious to yourself that you're going to make this one your template, because we're about to be very destructive to this session. And my webcam is about to get a lot better, because we are going to delete tracks. So all of the audio tracks are what I'm going to remove. Now, this is to say, if you say you're working on an album and you always have the same input chain, you may want to keep audio tracks, and you may want to just delete the audio files inside the tracks rather than the tracks themselves, because that would preserve that preserves the inserts, the record effects, especially if you're going to be tracking and mixing all in the same time. It may be advantageous to, instead of blasting away, like I just did the entire tracks, just blast away the audio inside that track. But in this instance, I'm anticipating the artist sending more stems, sending more tracks that are going to be different productions, different combinations of things. So all I want to keep right now are my sub groups and my effect buses.
Right, but so if you're working on an album and there's, the bass is the same from song to song, or it's got some core rhythm guitars or something like that, then that would be an instance, Ben, where you'd want to keep those individual tracks, right? And then you can preserve them moving forward.
Exactly. Yep, totally. And so yeah, as you can see, every time I'm deleting stuff, it's just the session. It's unloading DSP. It's unloading. The render meters going. Everything's just getting easier and easier as I do this. And so this is something. This came up when we were working with. We had our session last week with Marco Polo. There's a couple of different ways to select tracks. So as you can see, if I click on this track, I can hit the command key. And command lets me just select individual tracks by just clicking on their names. But if I use the shift key, it'll actually go from wherever I started my selection to where I just clicked using the shift key. So this can be helpful. But not only can you do it here, we can actually jump one thing over into this tracks area, and you can do the same. You can do the same selections, same workflow by coming over here to the track list and selecting your tracks there, which can be really helpful. And as you can see, I'm just right-clicking on those and then clicking delete selected tracks. And then it'll keep on deleting them, keep on deleting. This gets faster and faster the more you clear it out. Purposely picked a heavy-duty session because it had so much material to delete. Delete all these scratches, any of these tracks that I'm pretty sure are not going to come back and be used on the next song. There's always going to be O's, so I'm going to leave the O's track in there, and then let's get rid of these roughs. Delete selected tracks. So now, once it's finished deleting these, we are down to buses, returns, mixed bus processing, main bus processing, reverbs, some markers. It's actually kind of nice also having markers in here because you can quickly, if you've got a typical song structure, you can easily kind of reorient these to where they are. So now if I go over to Finder, this session, this is in a good spot to now become my template. Let me close my session and go back over to Finder. Now this is the trick for transforming it from, a session, from a song session file into a template, is now I've cleared all of the audio data off of those tracks. I've deleted almost all of my audio tracks except for that one bass track. And so now, instead of double clicking on it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it and click Show Package Contents. Now this is where all the meat of that session is. It's all in this audio folder.
All 6 gigs.
All 6 gigs of it. And what's great is that there's no audio in there. There's all these audio files are for that first song. So the trick I'm going to do here is I'm going to delete all of those audio files, and that session will go from loaded with both effects and templates and all that's in effects and automation, all those, to literally just that.
And you can just do that with Command A, like select all, right? You don't have to worry. You can get rid of every file that's in that folder. You don't have to worry about the being just the WAV files. It can be everything can just be wiped out.
Exactly. And so now my session went from 6 gigs down to 100 megabytes. There's probably still some more stuff I could trim out of there if I wanted to, but just for the sake of example, I'm gonna show you guys what this looks like as it is now. Oh yeah, you guys got so many good questions on here. All right. I don't know if you guys ever run into this, but sometimes when I open sessions from Finder, it'll look like it loads, but stays here on this screen. If you ever run into that, just come up here and hit the diamond, because sometimes it loads the session into the background, but doesn't necessarily activate it. And there we go. Now I've got a template with all my effects still in place, all my routing, a lot of the sends, but most importantly, the pain in the ass part, which is creating all the subgroups and routing all the audio into it, has now been kind of taken care of for me. And I can now drag and drop stems into this session and start building my mix. So that's one way. This is kind of the album way. This allows you to preserve a sound and take it from session to session. But the other way that I wanted to show you guys is to have just kind of a default mixing template. So I'll share my kind of workflow for mixing session, which it's kind of similar to what we were just seeing. Again, it's a big collection of a lot of buses. So, and again, just kind of loaded up, a little bit less processing in there, but all the stuff that I know I'm going to want on basically every mix is here, ready, waiting for me. So I've got my drum groups, I've got effects, bass, guitars. All my instruments are routed into some instrument and instrument drive subgroups, which is indicated by, you can see the output. The output of all these buses is currently being routed to 2 different buses. And again, to do this, I'll just show you how to, say I wanted to add all these to the vocals. Just hold the Option key, and now you can be sending these tracks to multiple destinations, which is a really handy trick.
And if you need to back any of those out, you can see up at the top of that, where underneath of the word current, you can X out the ones you want to cancel.
Exactly.
So if you over add, or if you want to take some away, they're right up there.
It's super easy. Yep. So this is now I've got my same thing for the vocals. I've got all these, vocal subgroups that then go into a vocal master bus, and a little drive. This is kind of pulling one of Andrew Sheps's tricks where it's a Pultec into LA2A into a Pultec, where you kind of exaggerate the sound that gets thrown into the LA2A, so it responds extra to S's and to all the not nice parts of the vocal. Then you compress it like crazy, really hold that tone into one place, and then you undo the crazy EQ, blend it to taste, and you just get this really present, really kind of controlled vocal tone that you can sneak up underneath your dry signal. So shout out to Mr. Sheps, because that's a fantastic trick. And then all my send effects, different colors, all the different colors of reverb, delay, micro shift, a thick bus, again, kind of stealing Andrew Sheps's rear bus trick. This is a good send to be able to just send kicks, snares, and basses, and anything you want super punchy. Send it into an 1176 and let it have its way. And then all these are getting routed into a mix bus, which allows me to do kind of the 2-bus processing before going to my main fader. So this way the 2-bus is kind of at my mix level, and then I'm using the main fader to do that final limiting that I would send off to the client. So it'd be cool to be able to have the mixer view that was also viewed in a separate window. Well, you can absolutely do that, David.
You can do that.
You can do that. So come up here to Window and do New Alternate Window. And what this will do is it'll launch a second window. So now what I can do is I could have my second window on my timeline view, and then by using the Command tilde, the top left button just below Escape, I'm now going between windows. Or if you've got a dual monitor setup, like I do, you can take this alternate window and drag it up onto your second screen. The one thing to know about it is that these are independent windows. So, for instance, if let's say I wanted this screen to just be my, these 4 tracks, just my instrumental, my vocal, and my mix bus, I can hide, as you saw, just click and drag to hide those tracks. But now, if I go back to this other window, I've got my full mix still here, and I can tab over to this window and have this be just my mix bus. And again, you can
don't confuse. Ben's doing Command tilde versus Command equals. Right?
Exactly.
Command equals is toggling between timeline and mixer. What Ben's doing is Command tilde, which is from the main window to an alternate window. It's a different workflow.
Exactly. Yep. And it can be very powerful. It can also catch you up and be a little confusing sometimes, because you'll I don't know about you guys, but I'll be working mainly in my main screen, and I look up and my other one's still got everything there, and I'm like, I thought I hit all those tracks. And you're like, nope, you hit them in this window, but not in the other one.
Yeah.
So
for me, it's great. I like that during tracking sessions, because I can put a big cues. I can have big, large faders for my cues on a second monitor, whereas my main window is still the small cue view. So that's a good way to work for me when I'm tracking.
Totally. So now let me show you how to quickly put this into practice. So I've got. I did this one with the AIFF, so I don't Let me find another song here that I stemmed out for.
So
sending
while
in.
while Ben's doing that, Randy asked, "Is there a way to disable tracks?" There's not a way to specifically disable tracks, but every plugin has a power button. And if you deactivate or turn off the power button for a track that you don't want to use currently, if you depower everything, it'll release the DSP, it'll stop using the CPU, and then you can hide it. So that's basically the same as disabling. So that you can try that out.
Yeah, and you can right click on an insert and do disable all, or you can
Right.
command click each one to do it
Right.
quickly.
Nice. All right, so let's just pretend this is a full song of stems here. The easiest way to do this is to have a consolidated, just printed from zero audio tracks for the second song that we're about to mix here. Then all I had to do is select those audio tracks, and what I like to do is I like to drag them in over here on the tracks in the focus browser area, because that'll bring them in, puts them all into place, and then automatically sits them down right at the beginning of the session. Since my playhead was sitting here on 1-1, it just automatically landed all of those in there right where I wanted them to go. So now it's literally kind of just a question of taking these tracks and routing their outputs. By default, they're all going to go out my main output. But, if these two, those are some drum elements. Let's say these are my bass elements. And then a lot of times what I like to do the color coding and routing simultaneously. Kind of helps me keep track of what's going on inside of my session. So take these, send them to the keys, give them a nice little purple color, maybe like a little bit a lighter purple color, and let's pretend like these are vocals. Drag those over here, send these out to my lead. So now all the audio I just brought in, imported into my session, dragged around the session, color coded, routed to the right output, and now I'm ready to mix. And I've got some of the sound is already happening. My mix bus processing is already in place, ready to go. Especially, this template's based on a mixing system I've been using for so long. I'm so familiar with that, I know gain staging wise, if I come into, the SSL bus compressor on my instrument bus, if this is here, and by the way, this is for earlier asking about the default preset. Open up the plugin, hit the preset button, which is always the one right next to the name. On these smaller plugins, it'll just be this little diamond inside of a square. Hit that. User presets right here at the top. Here's Ben's default. So I'll come in, and if I'm on my default setting in this, and I'm just tickling these meters, that's how I know I've gain staged my tracks correctly. If I'm blasting it out, I know that I need to go back upstream in my session and adjust my gain staging into that. That's to me part of the power of having a template that like the back of your hand, is when these plugins are on my personal default settings, I know how they should be responding if I'm sitting in the right place gain stage wise. So yeah, that's it. That's how you create a template for an album. That's how you use a template, just a generic one for yourself. And again, the big thing to remember is like this template here, this mix template, I loaded audio into it for demonstration today. So it's now gone from an 11 megabyte session up to 276. So key point to using a template right now in Luna is you got to remember to duplicate your session before you start bringing audio in. Right. I showed this on the production template 2 weeks ago, but same thing applies for the mix template. You always want to come in here and hit Command D on your template session, and then change its name. This song is ready to rock, and then open that session. Start importing your template, or start importing your stem. And get to work mixing.
And then to finish that up, and once you've imported a track, let's say you need that to be on one of your saved channels. It's just a matter of dragging it back up, right? You just drag it up in the timeline onto the track that you've saved.
Exactly.
And then also remember, you're going to show us some tricks for the tempo thing, right? For conforming tempos.
Good memory. So this session by default is at 120. Now, when you drag audio stems in, notice how they come in here in time mode. So in time mode, this means that they are, they're not going to be warped to the tempo. So if I come in and I start changing the tempo of my tracks, I know it looks like I'm stretching this audio, but I'm not. I'm just moving around. You can see the minutes and seconds ruler. You see how the audio is being locked to the minutes and seconds? This is what you expect. This is what you'd like to have. So a lot of times what I'll do is, let's say, I know that these tracks, these were done at 110 BPM, but my session is at 120 BPM. So this is a great workaround, especially if you're dragging in a bunch of, say 3 or 4, in this case, I've got like 7 or 8 audio files that are all, I want to warp them all the same. I know the tempo, I'm not having to guess the tempo or not having to like do any special, anything really individual to these. I just know that, hey, this song is now a 120 BPM song and these stems are 110. How can I quickly stretch them all without, what Drew was saying is if you hold control and drag either the front or the end of a region here. When you're holding
that's good if you're just got like one. If you just have like one thing you're coming in, that method worked well for single tracks.
Exactly, and especially if you know that its length is correct too, right? So like if you know you've got a 4-bar loop, use control, leave snap on, boom, you can shorten it up and quickly create a 4-bar loop in your new tempo. But in our case, my song is 120, my stems are 110. How do I get these all to work together? Super easy. It's a little bit roundabout, but it works really well, and I've used this a bunch. All right, so these right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my project tempo down to 110. So I'm going to match my session tempo to my stem tempo. So these are now locked in. These are now on the correct minutes, seconds, bars, beats. Everybody's all happy. Then with these tracks selected and selection grouping turned on, which you can do with Command G, come here, switch from time to tempo. So now you notice all of these tracks, they all switched from being a time-based track to being a tempo-based. And since my time and tempo were correct for these, I can now change tempo back up to 120 BPM, and now they've all stretched perfectly to that tempo. Again, it may look like it did nothing there, like even though I changed it, and now I can move the tempo around and notice how the audio is not changing anymore, but my minute and second ruler continues to grow and shrink. That's how
if you didn't know your tempo, you could use the identify bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could set bar and identify bar command to build a tempo map for something that wasn't cut to a click, or if you just needed to find out what the tempo of something was, you could do it
totally
that way.
Yep. Which I think we've covered an identify beat one in one of the early office hours, right?
Yep. Yeah, we did. Yep.
Yeah, so we can check out the show notes and find one of those for you guys to check out. But yeah, this is the quick and dirty way of taking a whole bunch of tracks at a time, bringing them up into time. And the real trick there is to match your BPM to the imported data, switch the imported tracks from time into tempo, and then just go back up to the correct tempo, and everything will be locked together.
And be careful not to do that if you have other tracks in tempo mode that you don't want to disturb, right? You wouldn't want to do that if you had other tracks coming in. Or would they follow that journey okay?
Yeah, they'd follow that journey just fine. Yeah, so if I already had some tracks in here at 120, going from, if they were already locked in and at 120 and all happy, going down to 110 to lock these ones in and then back up to 120, right. It's Luna's going to be smart about that. Yeah. It's going to know, like, cool. Oh yeah, we're going down. All right, now we're back to where I was. We're happy. The real trick is just being smart about when you switch a track follows from time over to tempo.
Right. Got it. Cool.
Nice. Was there one other trick we wanted to show? Did the trim command? Did the warping?
Yeah, I think
that was it, right?
I think it was just those two. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, Michael. Yeah, definitely the most important part of the template process is renaming the new copy, and that is what I forgot to do it before I started showing you guys how to drag stuff in. So yeah, don't be like me. Make sure you duplicate your session before you start dragging our audio back into it.
And just so you guys know, we see you talking about groups in the chat, and us and the team, we all know how important groups are, and it's definitely something that Luna will get in the future. So don't worry about that. Just a matter of hang in there with us, and we'll as we build it out.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, hopefully, especially in LA, hopefully that trick I've shown you would apply for say you had a 180 and you wanted to warp it into a 120 section of your track. Yeah, it's as simple as making sure that know that your audio is locked to your beat grid, and then you can make any tempo changes that you want. As long as the tracks are in tempo mode, they're going to follow all of your tempo changes throughout, just like as if they were MIDI.
And yeah, so it's similar along with the groups, automation too. Pure grouped automation will come when track groups come, but for now you can do it on one and then just copy and paste it to the others. So there is a workaround for that. In answer to the automation cloning question. So
nice. Well, all right. Well, sorry, I sucked up a lot of time showing off mixing templates there. So what would you guys prefer? Should we do I don't know, Drew, what do you feel? Analog summing, can you do that in 10-15 minutes, or should we
God, I don't know. Maybe we push that to next week, because that might deserve a little bit more. That might need a little more than 10 or 15 minutes to do that fully.
So then let's go straight into Drew's trick of the week then.
Okay, yeah. So let's okay.
Yeah. This is something we've all been kind of looking for a solution, and Drew, you found a really good one here to show off.
Yeah, so this is this is one of the pretty highly requested features in Luna, something that I actually was a little surprised that as many people were interested in as they were. So I just I set up a little simple demo here for you. And I've got a couple of MIDI tracks here, playing some, a little bit of somber music here, a little bit of Beethoven on a Monday morning.
And be a happy Monday, Drew, not a sad Monday.
Yeah. So, in case you maybe the idea here is, and the tip of the week or whatever you want to call it is and one of the most requested features is, let's say you wanted to take your favorite TV show and convert it from an action show into sort of a melodrama. Here we have a little plug-in.
But also, it doesn't just work to parody your favorite thing. This is a quick, easy way to get video inside of Luna and have it sync up to your timeline.
Yeah. So you'll notice that as I move around in here, it's following me around. This is, spoiler alert, this is the episode where Jon Snow dies.
Hey, too soon.
Sorry. But anyway, yeah. So it's a bit interesting. It's an instrument. It's in the instrument slot, right? So that's
I was gonna say, this is the fully explain here. This is a third-party instrument or third-party AU plugin that you found on through. I don't know how you stumbled on this one, Drew, but
let me.
As soon as you found it, we were like, this is what we've been waiting. A lot of people have been waiting for, to be able to have video playback inside of Luna. And this seems to be doing it pretty rock solid.
Yeah, it's interesting. I got my ear to this, ear to the ground here, and I'm always seeing what's going on out there. And yeah, it's a really it's a VST as well as an AU version. This is obviously the AU version, and it's an instrument track. So and then you simply choose your file here, and then it loads it in, and then you actually can even trim the big start and end of the video. So these little green arrows here on the right and on the left allow you to sort of create brackets. Like it's a form of offset, right? So you can offset exactly where you want to go. You can, if you hold down Control, it'll be in really fine increments, where you can trim the beginning of the file. And then, yeah, as you said, Ben, it follows you around, and it's able to do that. And actually, there's a free version of this that allows you to use videos up to 30 seconds. So you can literally use this for 30-second clips for free. Yep. And then if you want to spring for the full version, then you can do whatever you want there.
Yeah, it's like $30-$40. It's very highly reasonable. You can tell it's not the world's most advanced plugin, but what it does is it brings video playback to any AU or VST application that
Yeah.
doesn't support video. So yeah, it works super well for being able to bring that in.
Yeah, so missions, if you're using, you could, technically, if you opened up an AAF, right, you can create a session from an AAF and then simply instantiate this plugin on an instrument track and link to a video, and you're done, right? It literally is that simple.
Yeah. Nice.
Um,
Oh, so I see Michael's asking, but now your template has those audio files saved in it. Correct. Yeah. So if you were silly like me and you started importing audio into your mix template that you didn't mean to, you're gonna have to do this the trick I showed for the album project. If show package contents, come in here and just go into the audio folder, Command A to select them all, Command Delete to trash them, and that will bring your template size back down. As well as, or it may actually throw an error here because I trashed files in an open session. Close your session before you start trashing audio files. It may or may not work successfully if you've got it open at the same time. Nice. Well, cool. So then I think a good one that we've been kind of kicking around here for a bit, unless there's any other relevant questions coming in, would be quickly talking about some backup methods and some things to consider when you're backing up your sessions.
Totally.
So yeah, Matt, you want to share your screen and give the people some good advice around backing up?
Yeah, pull it up here. Cool. So yeah, we'll talk about specifically backing up as it relates to Luna sessions, but this is kind of general advice that relates to anything music related, any kind of files that you want to back up. So the name of the game, obviously, for backing up is to keep your data in two different places. So one would be your internal drive on your computer. That's usually the most likely first place. And the second place could be like a cloud service, like Google Drive, Dropbox, something like that, or it could be like a physical external hard drive. But what you don't want to do is make two copies of the same file on the same drive, or partition one drive and keep a copy of the file on either side, because that's not going to do anything for you if that drive fails. So always make sure you're keeping your data in two different places. And as far as Luna specifically, all the information that you'd want to back up for your Luna sessions is in this Luna sessions folder, unless you've changed the default location when you're saving sessions. So if you go to your user folder and then music, there's this Luna sessions folder in here, and that's where you'll find all your Luna sessions. You'll notice that some of the files in here on my system are just Luna sessions, not in folders. These are all sessions that I created before 107 came out. And these ones that are in folders are ones that I created after 107 came out, because under 107 and later, Luna automatically creates a folder with the session file inside of it. Makes it a lot easier. So if you were if your goal was to back up just your Luna sessions, obviously you could just add this folder, this Luna sessions folder, to your Dropbox app, your Google Drive app, whatever kind of backup service you're using. And you can create like a schedule that it would sync this folder to the location of your choosing, either a cloud or a physical drive every so often.
Yep.
Another way to do that, I use Carbon Copy Cloner, which is a way to copy your whole hard drive to another external drive. And Carbon Copy Cloner actually makes the external drive bootable. So what that means is I can clone my internal MacBook drive to a physical external drive. If my internal drive on my MacBook fails, I can actually boot off of this external drive and I'm right back where I was. I have all my files. I can still get into the operating system.
This is such an important thing that has saved my butt multiple times before. Having a bootable copy of your entire system, you never know, something goes wrong, or even just installing, say you install something or accidentally delete a file that your system needed, right? If you get your system into a non-bootable state, you can be SOL unless you've got a backup of that boot drive ready to go.
Yeah. And it's not the same as to simply drag and drop a copy of everything. It's a specific procedure that these apps, Carbon Copy Cloner, I use ChronoSync and have for many, many years. And these apps are making they're doing it in the right way to make it actually bootable, because it's not just a matter of dragging and dropping.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and so you can actually set up schedules in Carbon Copy Cloner. You can do this in pretty much any other backup app too. So I could, choose the destination drive, where I want to copy it to, choose the source drive. That's my internal drive where it's copying from. And I can set up a schedule. And the cool thing about this application is it actually checks the files on both drives. So if I'm doing, a backup every Wednesday, for example, it's not going to copy every single file from the original drive to the backup drive every single Wednesday. It's going to compare the two drives, see what's different, and only copy
Do an
over what it needs to.
incremental backup. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of some general advice for backing up. And then for back to Luna specific stuff, this isn't as relevant in 107 and later because, like I mentioned, it puts everything in a folder. But there are some cases you can get into where, let's say, like somebody zipped up a Luna session and sent it to you, and you downloaded it, and then it downloaded just as a folder, and you're not able to open the file. The reason that happens is because sometimes when like Dropbox or something packages up the file into a zip file, once your computer unzips it, it strips out whatever file extensions were in it. So in the case of like a Luna session, you can't see it here because I have extensions hidden, but it's actually a .luna file. So then if Dropbox for whatever reason stripped out that .luna, it's going to turn the session file just into a folder, and I can't really do anything with it.
Yeah. So what do you do in that case? Say you do, someone sends you a Luna session, you download it, your browser or Finder thought it was a .zip instead of a .luna. Is there a way to recover?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what happened here. I downloaded this office hours MIDI demo.zip. I unzipped it and it just turned into a folder with nothing openable inside of it. So it seems like I can't use it, but an easy fix for that is right click, go to get info. I can see in the name and extension field here that the .luna has been stripped out. So if I add that back in, it's going to ask me if I want to add it. Yes, I do want to add it. You can see the icon changes. Now it's an openable Luna session again.
Nice.
So it's just a matter of adding that stripped out file extension back in.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been recommending. I've had this error happen a couple of times, and it's mainly been like Dropbox or Google Drive. If I upload a bare Luna session without it being zipped up. So typically, what I've been recommending to people is either the session file or the session folder, right clicking, compressing it, and then sending the compressed file up. Especially if you're going to share it with somebody else. So that bug doesn't affect you, obviously, if you're using Dropbox or Google Drive to synchronize, because it's uploading and downloading the whole thing, including the metadata. But it seems to be when I've tried to share with other people externally that sometimes zipping it up solves a lot of these problems.
Yeah, and that's when I ran into it as well. So yeah, but yeah, again, with 107 and later, you get these folders. So just right click on the folder, compress the folder, upload that to Dropbox, send off your link to your friend, and you're good to go.
Yeah. That's a great way of doing it. And yeah, so number one takeaways here, always be backing up. Just if you're not backing up your sessions right now, they're as good as gone. Go ahead and back them up. Unless you have 2 or 3 copies of something, you're really not protecting your data. And especially if you're working with clients, if people are paying you to create their music and help them with their music, it's a major responsibility to take that file security very seriously. Always assume that your hard drive is just about to die. Like if you kind of just operate a slight bit paranoid like that, you'll be in a good shape because you will never lose a file with a solid backup system in place. And of course that means not only having multiple copies, but also trying to make sure that one of those copies is offsite. So whether you're using like a cloud, you can use an external server. There's a lot of different solutions out there for you guys. But it's just backing up your files is just so important, because that's literally the worst thing to ever have happen to. And typically only happens to people once, because it happens and then they learn their lesson. You lose all your photos or you lose all your music, and you're heartbroken for like a week or a month or forever. But then you never make that mistake again, and you always make sure you have your stuff in at least 2, if not 3 spots, and physically having at least one separated is a good guideline.
Yeah, when it comes to those bootables, do those bootables right before an OS update, right before, like the moment you think I'm about to do something that's going to radically change things on my hard drive, that's when you want to clone it. Same with Luna, when it comes time to if there's an update to Luna, you can right click and compress the previous Luna version. Although we store them on the Luna release notes page, but if you want to just save yourself the download, you can always, back them up beforehand, then do the update. And if something doesn't work for you, you can roll back easily. And same goes true for the OSs. Apple's doing security updates here and there and all sorts of stuff that you don't know how invasive they might be or how they might affect your system. So doing those clones in front of all that stuff gives you a nice safety net.
Yeah. Jandra is asking, is there a workaround to import or copy tracks from one Luna session to the next via the package? Sort of. Check out Rewind a little bit earlier in this session, where I went over how to create a template from one session and then be able to use it in the next. So I showed it primarily preserving the groups and the reverbs and the effects, but that of course also applies to any audio tracks. So yeah, just rewind and you'll see a good little workaround for doing what you're trying to do there. Automation on plugin bypass possible. Only if
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I was gonna say that one I addressed in the chat, or and we have the power button, right? The power button is an automatable parameter.
Yep.
So I don't know if you want to show that, Ben, or
Yeah,
not,
absolutely.
but it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's a good one to know. So if you have a plugin that you want to automate, so if I want to automate my SSL bus compressor, open the track and then click on View. View tells you what this line is, what this automation. Currently it's on volume, but I can come in here and I can see insert to power. Now by automating this, I'm now powering it on and off. But I think possibly what you're kind of asking is, you're like, can I automate this button? So the plugin bypass button, and that one is not automatable. This one unloads the plugin and stops it from having to do any processing, versus the power button on UAD plugins leaves the DSP in place. It just bypasses the processing. So yeah, all of the parameters inside the plugin are automatable, but the main power button for plugins, that is not automatable. So that's how you do that one real quick.
And you can do that for extensions as well, tape and summing.
Yep. Good call. Nice. If you all right, I think we got almost a lot of control surface questions. Always keep on hitting the feedback button. Let us know how much you guys want control surfaces. I know it's one of the highest requested pieces of feedback so far for Luna. So you can definitely know that we're aware of it, and they're working around in the background to try to make that a possibility for y'all. Automation cloning, yeah. I think.
And District 7 Studio is asking, so AU plugins can't be bypassed? Not quite. They can be bypassed. You just can't automate bypass on AU plugins.
Mm-hmm. Unless you'll find a lot of plugins do have an internal bypass of some sort.
Unless they have their own power switch, like all the UA plugins do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I know, if, for instance, let's pull up like the Sound Toys, so Decapitator, you can bypass it. It's got a bypass button built into its GUI up here. So since that is there, I can come in here, insert one, bypass. So it does depend on the plugins themselves having some sort of internal bypass, which feels like it's more and more common these days than not. I think even the Fab Filter one, let's check. View. We got band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4. All the bands are automatable. There we go. And there's a bypass automation here too. So yeah, you can always, of course, if you don't want to be a silly goose like me and have to read through all these, never forget. You can just search. Exactly. Just come up here into the area. You can search for, gain. You can search for bypass. You can quickly identify, especially once you see a big long list of lots of parameters. That's where I instantly like, oh shit, let me start typing what I want. You'll find that's really fast.
Oh, Ben, Michael McDonald reminded us the bus thing. Yeah.
Yep. Good call. Mm-hmm. So let me just using this example here. So the way I like to create buses, if I'm doing this on the fly, is I do Command Shift B. So now I'm going to say I want these 3 tracks to be routed together. No Neve, please. So now in this dialog box, you can come in right down here and hit none. But there's also a shortcut for this. Option up arrow toggles between these. So this is as quick of a shortcut as you can get right now. By default, of course, we we know that a
You're
lot of
gonna
people
want it on.
exactly. A
You're
lot
gonna want it on.
most people really love the Neve summing, and like it's a great place to start. And of course, you can always turn it off. But if you do want to make a bus with no Neve, you can just title your track. You can even select, do you want the output to be routed there? You can little trick that some people may not know about is you can also use this to create sends and automatically route a send effect. But yeah, option up and down arrow will toggle between summing
Play
and no
around
summing.
play around with the modifiers in that window and all because they all do something. The command left and right, up and down, option up and down.
Yep.
By the way, this is covered in detail in Matt's latest video, right? Which that's coming out today or tomorrow.
Should be today.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming out today. So there's a lot. Matt goes over this in great detail. So make sure you watch that video.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can see I'm moving route from selected by using command up and down, and command left right arrow goes between mono and stereo.
Right.
So you can quickly make a mono output bus with no Neve summing, all just with your keyboard. By kind of memorizing, and it's not just memorize. You kind of end up building this muscle memory over these kind of commands, and the same thing applies.
Yeah, the new tracks dialogue. New tracks dialogue
Yeah, I was
follows the
gonna say
same keyboard shortcuts.
Exactly. So Command Shift N, create a new track dialogue. It brings up the window up here in the top left, and here again I can use Option left right to go between mono and stereo. I can do Command left right to change the format. Command up down to go between buses, audio, and instrument, and then Option up down to select summing or no summing. Or if I'm on an instrument track, I can do Option up down. As you can see, it's scrolling through all of my instruments. So similar sort of thing. When you create an instrument track, by default, it's gonna try to anticipate your needs and give you some sounds to start with. So by default, it's gonna load shape. But if you want to load an instrument track with no instrument on it, Option up arrow gets you to none, and now you're creating a blank instrument track. So yeah, the option up and down arrow has been, for me, that's one of the game changer keyboard shortcuts for the new track dialogue for the bus assignment, and it is really nice that the two both echo each other with the same commands. So yeah, all right, well guys, this was a question packed Monday. Got some good info, good questions from you guys. Yeah, so really good way to start the week. Hope everybody had a good weekend making music and getting out there. We're gonna be back tomorrow morning with Fab. He's back from his vacation, currently in transit on his way back. But we're gonna pick up where we left off, and there was a lot of questions last week about vocal comping and how to do vocal comping inside of Luna. And we've kind of shown some quick ways of doing it here on Office Hours a couple of the different workflows. But the only thing we haven't really shown is like an actual vocal comp happening, where it's not just about the actions of doing it, but it's also about the musicality and the intention behind creating a comp. So we're going to do that. We're going to do some background vocals. And I saw somebody was asking, where'd Will Knox go? You may want to tune in tomorrow. Maybe Mr. Knox will make a special appearance. So yeah, tune in tomorrow. We're back here at 10 a.m. with Fab and Lewis. Maybe Will, who knows? So yeah, definitely check that out as we continue to create a song remotely from scratch, all inside of Luna, which is it's been a really fun journey to see. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. Thanks for all the tips, all the tricks. The video player thing was amazing, Drew. Good work finding that one.
Good find.
And Matt, great
Thanks
job
to everybody.
Thank you everybody for the questions. Matt, good job on the kind of giving people some good ideas about backing up, but most importantly, busting your ass to create all of those Luna Basics videos that are super helpful. So if you guys haven't already checked those out, highly recommend you give them a watch. And yeah, I think that's it. Everybody have a good rest of your Monday, and we'll catch you back here tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Right on. See you guys.